It's been a long time coming, but my final Janny Wurts book has been read. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be talking about Master Whitestorm, which the intro ended up sounding a lot more dramatic than I meant it to sound, but this is just my last solo Janny Wurts book that I still needed to read. I'll still read, of course, everything she writes, and the Empire trilogy as well, which she co-wrote with Raymond Feist, because I love Janny Wurts, as I'm sure you know if you've seen my channel before. But let's talk about Master Whitestorm, because this was the last one that I had that I needed to get to, and I was really excited to get to this one. And as always, I never really know what to expect when I'm cracking open a Janny Wurts book, and I found that especially to be the case as I branched and read some of her older books that came out before, because I started with the Cycle of Fire trilogy, which is very different from the Wars of Light and Shadow, which is different from To Ride Hell's Chasm. Then I read Sorcerer's Legacy, which was super different, and also not what I was expecting. And then the short story collection also just was a really wide variety of all kinds of different stuff. So Janny really has a knack for keeping things interesting and unique and exploring a lot of different things. And so it's one of the reasons that I've really enjoyed checking out all of her work. And Master Whitestorm starts off pretty nautical. In getting it, which you see a lot of those themes in a lot of Janny's books. That is one of the things that tends to be at least somewhat constant. You gotta have some ships for the most part. She tends to really like that kind of thing. But this one is, we're following a kind of mysterious character, and he's a mercenary, and he goes around just doing these tasks that many people deem to be impossible. And if you read, and I'm not going to, but if you read the blurb tells you all of these things that he's done. We then see him do in the book, because unlike a lot of the stuff that's in a similar style, there's a lot more going on here. And when I say similar style, this to me felt very kind of sword sorcery-esque. Especially where you a lot of the stories that are older, you'd have kind of the serialized short stories. The ones that I've read have been a bit hit and miss for me, because I'm not always a fan of that kind of style, but I've read a few other things that are like that, where it feels like you're just reading, like they go off on this adventure, that adventure, they do this thing, and that was kind of the feel that I got. A lot of those things tended to be a little bit on the shallow side. They're shorter. They're not designed. They're not trying to dig in deeper, which is something that I like. So this book is when you start to really dig more in, and it starts to open up more and dig deeper and get more complex, that you realize that there's something special here. And this isn't just, your basic kind of sword and sorcery mercenary goes and fights whatever or does whatever, even though that's the kind of the basis of it. We dig in much deeper with our main character here, and really exploring him as a person and his history, his motivations, and it builds to quite a lot more. Corandir, whose name I don't think I've actually said so far, our main character here, goes through a lot. And like the book opens with him on a ship. He's been captured and made into a slave and escaping. And then he goes off and he's trying to complete all these different jobs, get as much gold as possible. Don't know why at first. He's trying to set up his own kind of fortress, and the things that he wants to feel safe as well, he's just trying to do. But he also tends to, even if he doesn't need the money, go off and try to do things and help others. And so you see the build with the character, where they start really mysterious, they seem very gruff, and you're not really sure, but then you start to get a deeper understanding as you go. There are definitely themes of compassion coming from a character who's a little bit more gruff, and that's where you can see some exploring a similar archetype and some similar traits to what you see later in the Wars of Light and Shadow, with Arathon, with just being a character who can be kind of terse sometimes, but also is, it feels a lot of compassion and that kind of thing. So I found it really interesting seeing kind of an early version exploring writing that kind of character. It's a very different character, and this is an incredibly different style. But I think it was really interesting to go back and kind of see that kind of thing, and just see those ideas explored, which is something I do find rewarding. Because you can see that a lot of times if you read an author's like really big series, and then you go back and read some of the earlier work, and you can sometimes see like, oh, okay, I can see some elements of this. They ended up expanding, exploring, and making into something even more. And so that was something that I found really interesting here also. This is, of course, because it's Janny Wurts, and even though this isn't a particularly long book, It's, you know, it's over 400 pages, under 500 pages, somewhere in that range here. But even though, like I said, it presents and it starts, the beginning, we're kind of moving from job to job. Then we slow down a little bit. We build out the world. We build out the magic. We focus on the characters, including some side characters as well. And so we really just dig in more. And that's just something that I appreciate about Janny Wurts, is she's able to fit in so much into even a standalone. And that's for like the big series, Words of Light and Shadow. The amount of world building and the magic, everything about it is just so real because there's just so much there. But she also does such a great job with standalones, and you see that here, where we're really following like the life's journey of somebody here. It's not just like, oh, you know, they went on some adventures and then we were done. Like, no, that's just the start. We go on our adventures and then we start to dig in like, well, why are you doing this? The character grows, they get older, time passes, all these kinds of things, and we through this we still dig in more to the world, the bigger picture, what's happening. Things get complicated, and things don't just turn out exactly as you'd expect either by any means. It's always an interesting way that the character finds to overcome obstacles. And the choices that they make as well, and so it really is. I think those who like kind of the old school sword and sorcery, I definitely should check this out, because I'd be really curious what they would think about something that does that, but then kind of also does the more complex thing that you get in a lot of epic fantasy. So I think it's a good mesh of that as well. And if you're looking for a standalone, just because standalones can sometimes be really hard to find, this also fits the bill really well, and it's one that feels very complete. There's a lot here. This doesn't feel like it's looking for a sequel. It just feels like, hey, this is a story and it's being told, and I think works really well. So while this is not like one of my top Janny Wurts books, I've not read one that I didn't like, and this is certainly no exception. I had a good time with this one and enjoyed it, and really just enjoyed exploring a different world and a unique world, and just spending some more time reading words that Janny Wurts wrote. Because if you, like I said, if you see my channel, I love Janny Wurts. So it's one of my absolute favorite authors, and so I was really enjoyed this one here as well. That's really it, though, on my thoughts on the Master of Whitestorm. So let me know if you read this, what your thoughts are on it, and I'm always interested to hear from you, because I know lots of people have read this, at least that have read Janny. It's one of the older ones too, but I'm sure a lot of you have not as well. So just pointing out, this and Sorcerer's Legacy, both standalones, not crazy long, and then of course To Ride Hell's Chasm, which is a bit closer in style to Words of Light and Shadow, also a standalone. And they're good standalones. Hard to find sometimes. Janny Wurts has you covered with a few here, though. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Enclave Discord. If you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, really anything at all, it's a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.